Welcome to your first Advent devotionals. This Advent season, we will have a mixture of both video in our midweek and written in our Friday newsletter, all focusing on womb and wonder, our theme this Advent season. Our theme hopefully will invite you to explore our year theme, Spirit of Curiosity, by wondering and getting curious about what we might be waiting for this season, how God meets us in wonder when we're curious about things, what's being born anew in us, how we might explore how wombs, whether literal, and I know talking about wombs can be uncomfortable in some ways because it's part of reproductive anatomy and things like that, but think about it. Wombs are part of what we're told in Scripture, the very place God knew us before we entered our mother's womb. There's something significant about the tenderness and power and strength of a womb. That God came in human form and came from a womb. That in a womb, metaphorically, we are invited to take the nourishment, the time and patience it takes to create something. Throughout all of creation, something has to be birthed to take on breath. And so I'm curious this season what God might be creating within me in this womb of Advent, this waiting of Advent. What might come about in me that is new and curious? How might healing meet me through hope, peace, joy, and love? There's a lot to be curious about. And wonderment, to be in awe, to have astonishment, as the prophet Habakkuk invited us this past week, to be astounded by the work of God. Where is wonder meeting you this season? In the text we have, who is experiencing God's wonder? Wondering often feels like something left to children's imaginations. Maybe we lost it a bit when we exited the why phase of life. Maybe once we found a career, we stopped wondering about what we would become because we maybe arrived. But if we're getting curious this Advent, let's see where wondering takes us. On this first week of Advent, we invite you to explore hope. What are you hopeful for? How does hope manifest in you? Where do you see hope in the world? What does it mean to have hope in God? Throughout Advent, you'll be hearing not just from staff, but lay leaders as well, who invite us to explore around curiosity, wonderment, and waiting, and the places that are born within the womb of God's grace and mercy. So, welcome to your Advent devotionals. Today we'll get to hear from Ben Carroll, and I am so thrilled to be able to start this Advent season with each and every one of you. And on Friday, we'll get to read more from several of our church members. Thank you all for leaning into this spirit of curiosity this year and for exploring what God might be birthing in this community, in our world, through each and every one of us. May God's kingdom be known through our actions, through our words, and in how we love one another God, and ourselves. Let us begin.
Hi, Calvary. Ben Carroll here with your Midweek devotion. The Old Testament text from the lectionary this Wednesday is the story of Noah and the ark. It comes from Genesis 8, 1 through 19. I encourage you to read it if you like, but I'll do my best to give us a quick refresh. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and livestock that were with him in the ark. He sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. After 40 days, Noah opened the window he made in the ark and sent out a raven. It kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove could find nowhere to perch because there was water all over the surface of the earth. So it returned to Noah in the ark. He reached out his hand and took the dove and brought it back to himself in the ark. He waited 7 more days and again sent the dove from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf. Then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out again. But this time it did not return to him. By the first day of the first month of Noah's 601st year, the water had dried up from the earth. Noah then removed the covering from the ark and saw that the surface of the ground was dry. By the 27th day of the second month, the earth was completely dry. Then God said to Noah, "Come out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is within you, that is with you, the birds, the animals, all the creatures that move along the ground, so they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number on it." So Noah came out together with his sons and wife and his sons' wives and all the animals and all the creatures that move along the ground and all the birds, everything that moves on land, came out of the ark, one kind after another. I hope you had a lovely Thanksgiving. I was fortunate enough to go back to East Texas and visit my family for the holiday. These last few Thanksgivings and Christmases have been tough with COVID, with some family members being able to make some gatherings and others not. This year, though, the stars of my family schedules aligned and in-laws aligned perfectly, and most everybody was able to make it there at Thanksgiving. We always count off every family gathering, and this year we had 26, 7 of them under 7 years old. And I'm often the default childcare at these gatherings. My first cousins and their spouses are often wiped out from even just getting their slew of children to the gathering. And I much prefer drawing hand turkeys and racing matchbox cars than accidentally letting my political views slip out around the lunch table. It had been a year since I'd seen many of my 7 under 7 cousins, so it took a little bit of warm-up dad jokes and silly faces to re-earn their good graces. Eli just turned 6, and he's previously been more on the shy side. But in the younger years, it usually only took throwing the kid up in the air, letting him climb on my shoulders, my big 6'3" stature, to remind him and remind me the joy that children and family can bring. This year, though, he's getting a little bit too big to launch. So his mom, who's also his school teacher, presented us with the animal guessing game. He picked an animal, and it was up to me and the rest of the 7 under 7 crew to guess what the animal was, asking its color, what continent it lived on, was it a mammal, a reptile, a fish, and to ask him questions and see how much he knew about all the different species of lizards in Costa Rica. It gave me so much wonderment. Do you remember the first time you heard the story of Noah and the ark? Do you remember the wonder of the thought of seeing all those animals? Maybe you remember the joy of giving or receiving your favorite stuffed animal. As we meditate on hope this week, remember the joy of playing with the donkeys and the sheep in the nativity scene. Remember what it was like to see an elk, a prairie dog, a bear, either for the first time or maybe last week. Children can teach us so much about the wonderment of creation. I hope in this Advent you're able to spend time with your own children, grandchildren, or those young ones that being in the family of God can provide. But also, don't forget the wonderment the animals we live with can bring too. Thanks. I hope you have a good week.
Let all mortal flesh keep silence, and with fear and trembling stand. Ponder nothing earthly minded, for with blessing in His hand, Christ our God to earth descended, our fellowship to King of kings, yet born of Mary, as of old on earth he stood, Lord of lords in human